Thank you very much, respected religious leaders, distinguished guests. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the official launch of the first strategic plan of the African Council of Religious Leaders. Permit me to first recognize and thank the governing board of the Council, who come from all parts of Africa and who had adopted the strategic plan that we are launching tonight in Abuja, Nigeria. And some of the governing board members are here with us at this dinner tonight. Professor Abdul Ghaffur Al-Busaidi, Governing Board of African Council of Religious Leaders, Mr. Muljibai Pindolia, Governing Board Member, Madame Cecile Lepira Shibanda from Congo, also one of the other Governing Board members of the African Council of Religious Leaders. This plan has 5 key components, and 3 are programmatic, 2 institutional. 1 is conflict transformation and peace building. 2, sustainable development and protecting the earth. 3, advancing what we are now calling the notion of shared security. 4, strengthening the interfaith networks across Africa and the capacity of the Council itself. The African Council of Religious Leaders is launching this plan at a time when Africa remains the only continent where most countries will not achieve the MDGs by 2015. When poor governance, misuse, and misplacement of public resources by public officials is the norm rather than the exception. When, despite many countries putting in place institutions to reduce and eradicate corruption, officials serving these bodies seems to be at the receiving end thanks to corrupt public officials. When elections in some places are becoming frightening exercises due to the fear of intimidation, violence, and stolen elections. When in the next 5 years, 40 countries in Africa will hold presidential and parliamentary elections and a referenda. When we are witnessing increasing incidences of extremism, and rather than confronting its root causes, we have too often sought the blunt instrument of militarization and other unorthodox illegal means to fight terrorism. In this context, it is extremely timely that religious leaders in Africa have come together to address these challenges. It is timely because religion is in danger of being hijacked by both politicians and extremists to further causes inimical to our own religious beliefs. This plan calls for an active, proactive leadership from the religious communities across Africa that addresses the challenges of the day. It calls for religious leaders and faith communities to creatively utilize the platforms you have every Sunday, every Friday, every day to help persons like PLO Lumumba here to fight corruption. It calls for religious leaders and faith communities to use their spaces to fight impunity. Most importantly, the plan calls for an establishment of a process of exploring issues, including rejection of misuse of religion and providing religiously based alternative responses to the failing war on terror. And above all, this plan calls for and provides a roadmap for religious leaders to together work towards attainment of the MDGs, including the eradication of extreme forms of poverty. The Council will, in the next 5 years, and this will be presented to you shortly, establish 10 new national interreligious councils in 10 countries in Africa. Youth and women chapters in 10 countries will also be established. The Council, as a technical partner to the Africa Union Commission, has begun preparations to cooperate with the Union and will continue to do so for the next 5 years and beyond to address the challenges of conflicts on the continent and the resultant refugee and IDP crisis, and popularizing the people-centered and people-driven union. Please join us in our first steps as we embark in this challenging journey across Africa. Thank you all.